It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, welcome. It's showtime. Good afternoon, good evening. Well, depending on where you're watching it live, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Hey, I hope you had a great weekend. It is time for the Geno Jones Daily Variety Show, brought to you today by my good friends at Lockwood Outdoor Advertising, converting cars to cash. If you're here in the Carolinas and you want to advertise or promote your business, or if you're doing business, maybe you have a product or good or service that people can order online, that you got like a global, a potential global customer base, and you want to attract customers in this market. Check out my good friends, Lockwood Outdoor Advertising. It's LockwoodOutdoor.com. That's LockwoodOutdoor.com. All right, speaking of coming to America 2, yes, coming to America 2. Everybody's talking about it. A lot of folks liked it. Significant number of folks didn't like it at all. Listen, I loved it. Now, I think the difference is generational. You know, if you're like under 40, if you really didn't see the first one and remember the first one, because I think my take personally is, so this movie came out 33 years ago in 1988. So if you're like over 40, 45, 50, mid-50s, 60, maybe a little older, the movie represents something different because you were younger. You were in your maybe teens or 20s. When this movie came out. So Eddie was younger. Eddie's in his, mid-late 50s now. Arsenio's like in his mid-late 50s, somewhere like that. So it just represents something different. It's a different time. So, and you know what? As we all get older, we all revert back and refer back to the good old days. And everything, there's a certain nostalgia when it comes to things that we remember from years back. Or I should say, there's a certain romanticism. That's really a better choice of words. There's a romanticism with the way things were, 20, 30, when we were in our teens or 20s. It just seemed like everything was better. The movies, the music, you name it. There's a certain attachment because we were at a different period in our lives. So if you're like in your 30s or your 20s, then the new Coming to America 2, it represents something entirely different. They deal with, I should say, a form of sexism. I don't want to give the complete movie away, but it's like, why is it that only a male can be an heir to a throne? Why can't a female child be the heir to a throne? And some other subtle differences. A joke, pound for pound, in terms of, as far as I'm concerned, the jokes. Leslie Jones, hilarious. Tracy Morgan, funny as all get out. Wesley Snipes as General Zinni. He was hilarious in that role. Because in the first movie, you had a actor, the late Calvin Lockhart. He wasn't funny at all. As a matter of fact, I forgot. I went back Saturday, and even though I've seen this movie countless number of times, so I went back Saturday. Friday night, I watched the new movie. Saturday night, I went back and watched the original Coming to America 2. Just to really, like study it, like I was a film critic. Then I watched Coming to America 2 again. So you got, then Calvin Lockhart played like the original General Zinni, and I think he was only in 2 scenes. Just like, because I didn't even remember who General Zinni was. But you will not, I promise you, you will not forget Wesley Snipes as his role as General Zinni in this movie. I promise you, you will not forget it. Now, some folks may say he may have been a little over the top, but for this movie, I thought it was spot on. So, speaking of something else that everybody is talking about, after this interview that was on CBS last night, I believe it was on CBS, Oprah Winfrey sat down with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry And boy, did Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, did they spill the royal tea? Wow. So one of the biggest things that came out of this conversation, interview, that there were senior royal members of the royal family, senior members, I don't know who, that had concerns and conversations about Meghan and Harry's son, Archie, because they were concerned, questions, conversations about, what color was Archie's skin going to be? What color was Archie's skin going to be? When he was born, was it going to be too dark? No, really. You can go back and watch the interview. The senior royal members had concerns and conversations about how dark Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's son's skin was going to be. Now, I don't know why anybody is surprised and shocked that, wait a minute, the royal family, the British monarchy, there's racism? Come on. The institution of the British monarchy and the royal family has been rooted in racism since its inception, since the beginning. It's been rooted in racism and a caste system, which means that, there's certain royal aristocratic people and everybody else are the commoners. Not to mention borderline incest, because, the royal family, where basically second cousins were marrying each other. It's pretty incestuous. But these are things that hadn't been talked about. But listen, the whole institution of, like I said, the British monarchy. Think about all these countries. They went over to Africa, colonized all these African nations. They colonized all these islands in the Caribbean, Jamaica. I could go. Think about all the, what is it? Was Antigua? Think about all the Caribbean islands to where British was the main language. I know definitely Jamaica was one. The Bahamas, still. You go to the Bahamas, you would think you're somewhere in London. So now listen, we got to remember this. The institution of slavery. The British Empire were the primary exporters of African slaves to America. Not Spain, not Portugal. Spain and Portugal, for the most part, they got involved in the Caribbean, African slaves in the Caribbean, Portugal, definitely in Brazil. But the British basically just exported their white nationalism and white supremacy to America. And now, we got a mutated form of Great Britain and the kingdom's version of white supremacy and racism. So I don't know why anybody was surprised. So today is International Women's Day. March is Women's History Month. So I want to shout out all the women everywhere, but a special shout out to black women. The most disrespected, devalued, diminished, unprotected people on the planet are black women all over, especially in America, but I'm sure in other countries also. So men, what we need to do, we must uplift, we must support, we must protect, we must respect, elevate, listen and hear, and do whatever is needed to end misogyny and racism in any and every form it comes in. That's the least we can do. And I just want to, since today is International Women's Day, a big shout out to my grandmother, both of my grandmothers, to my grandmother that raised me, Jean Jones, who I'm named after, to my other grandmother, Catherine Laster, to my mother, Mary Dixon, who gave up so much for me who was a young mom, who was a student on track to be able to go to basically any college or university in America, but gave up so much for me, my sisters, that has dealt with domestic violence, abusive men, over 40 surgeries. She's overcome other personal challenges, not to mention health challenges, just too many to name. She's overcome all that. She's empowered me. She didn't teach me how to be a man. She taught me how to be a better man. And she spoke to me and allowed me to look at the world through the prism of a woman and explain to me how destructive and toxic domestic violence and misogyny and sexism were, and to explain it to me in a very personal way, using her own life as a living example of how destructive and toxic, so very destructive and toxic these forces are. So to that, I could never thank my mother enough, and my grandmother, to Damaris, to my wife, to my daughters, Lauren, AKA Boogie, and Allie, Alexandria. You all, they have made me such a better man. And I've tried to do everything I can to empower my daughters, to get them to believe in myself, to do the one thing for them that my mother and my grandmother did for me. To be the wind beneath my wings, to believe in me, even when at times maybe I didn't believe in myself, which may seem hard to believe, folks that know me, but no. My mother has believed in me. My grandmother believed in me when I was a little boy. They saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. And they made sure they created an environment and a culture, and they nurtured me, and they protected me, and they loved me, and they taught me, and they disciplined me when I needed it. And they taught me compassion and empathy. My grandfather, I learned wisdom from and respect, but really the compassion and empathy were taught to me by the women in my family, by my grandmother, she was the living embodiment of compassion and empathy and humanity, who put everybody, even strangers she didn't know, she put them and their needs in front of her own needs, to the detriment of her own health. So on today, this International Women's Day, I just want to stand up, standing ovation, salute, shout out, and say thank you to all the women in the world, but specifically to the women, and to kind of paraphrase a song from Michael Jackson, the ladies in my life, who, like I said, didn't teach me how to be a man. They taught me how to be a better man. And they've made me, and they continue to make me a better person. And I hope for all the men that's out there watching the show today, I hope that you have women in your life. I'm sure you do. There's at least one woman in your life that's been so influential, that believed in you, that protected you, that nurtured you, that taught you, that fed and clothed you, that inspired you and believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself, that encouraged you to be the best version of yourself. Celebrate those women, or that one woman. Treasure them. If they are still alive, allow them to smell the roses, as they say, while they're living, and let them know how much you love them and appreciate them, and are grateful to have that woman in your life, be it your mother or grandmother, or someone that adopted you, or a teacher, or an aunt, or a sister, or maybe your spouse, or a daughter, whoever it could be, a niece, whoever that woman is. celebrate them, acknowledge them, appreciate them, and reciprocate the gratitude by showing them the same love and affection and nurturing and create an environment and be their biggest fan and their cheerleader. Root for them. Be the wind beneath their wings so they can become the best version of themselves. Because when the women in our lives can be the best version of ourselves, it'll make us the best version of ourselves. And then collectively as people, we will be unstoppable. We have been taught, especially as black people in America, but globally, as we see the story with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, that racism and white supremacy and this whole concept of whiteness, this racism and this really ignorant, backwards ideology is global. Black people and people of color globally have been feared and demonized and tortured and murdered and enslaved. And in spite of that, we have not only survived, but thrived. However, collectively, we have not thrived. Collectively, we have survived, but collectively, we have not thrived. So now is the time to do that. And we as in black America, in black people in America, men and women, we have been taught to hate each other, to look down on each other based on our complexion, which is ignorant. Because I guarantee you, a racist person, Dylan Roof, that racist young man, murderer who killed the 9 people here in Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina, he didn't know who was light-skinned or who was dark-skinned. They were all, as the words he used, he wanted to kill niggers. And they were all niggers to him. It wasn't a light-skinned nigga and dark-skinned nigga and kind of medium brown skin. The Ku Klux Klan, they didn't have some pecking order. Oh, we want to lynch the light-skinned ones. Maybe we'll just shoot them. No. This concept of whiteness and white supremacy, it doesn't see colorism, but it was taught to us to divide and conquer us. We were taught to hate each other. Black men were taught that black women were inferior. Black women were taught that black men were inferior. We were separated, stripped of our culture and our language. Our families literally were separated. Husbands were sold off from wives. Wives were sold off from husbands and kids, and mothers and fathers were sold off. Kids were sold off from their parents. Systematically, we have been divided and conquered and taught to hate each other and to see each other differently based on our own complexion. But then the outside world look at us all the same way through the prism of whiteness and white supremacy and hate. So on this International Women's Day, my specific special message is to women of color and black women especially. Once again, like I said, the most disrespected, devalued, diminished, unprotected people on the planet. So men, it's up to us to change that, to make sure that all women, but specifically black women, are protected and respected and valued and not diminished, elevated and supported and encouraged and rooted for with a sense of fairness, and to root for our black women the way our black women have always rooted for us. Now, I'm just going to be honest and give it to you straight, no chaser. Black women historically have always loved black men. In America, I can definitely co-sign in America. I didn't grow up in England. I didn't grow up in the United Kingdom. I didn't grow up in one of one of our African countries, but I can definitely speak to black women in America collectively. No, no, not all black women are perfect. Not all black women, no people are perfect. But collectively, black women have supported us as black men since we've been in this country. So, and many of us black men do. Black women, please understand that there are millions of us that are true allies and that will and do it without fanfare, because we were raised that way, because they had grandparents, they had a grandmother and a mother like I do, and we saw the pain and the abuse and worse that our mothers and grandmothers went through, and we were determined not to be that dude. Yes, some are, but we're working to change that. As other men, we're trying to be an example and have conversations and change the culture, because we as men, we can change the culture and make it unacceptable to devalue, diminish, disrespect, not to protect, to harm. Art at our core, the least thing that we should be able to do as black men, for black women, is to do no harm. That's the least thing. If we can't do anything else, the least thing that we should be able to do is to do no harm. So, on this International Women's Day, once again, salute, shout out, thank you. With love, gratitude, appreciation, and affection for all the women of the world, especially to our black women. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. Brought to you today by Lockwood Outdoor Advertising. Lockwood Outdoor Advertising. It is the only black-owned outdoor advertising company here in the state of South Carolina. So if you want to see these digital billboards up on the highway and these major streets, you like to have your business's name up in lights, make it happen. In this era of racial reckoning, all to my white brothers and sisters and my white allies that are saying, what can I do? How can I help? You can help by supporting black businesses, because this country has not supported. As a matter of fact, this country has done everything it could to limit, to destroy, to make sure that black businesses couldn't compete on a level playing field. We know the history. I'm not about to give you a history lesson. So if you want to change that, to my white brothers and sisters and allies, if you want to change that, you can change it by supporting black businesses. And here's a great black business you can support: Lockwood Outdoor Advertising. So it's LockwoodOutdoor.com. That's LockwoodOutdoor.com. All right, check them out. LockwoodOutdoor.com. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, it is March, is Women's History Month, and boy, do I have a black woman that has made history all throughout her career. Her name is Joan Robinson Berry. She's recently retired from Boeing. She's a trailblazer. She's been the first black woman to do so many things, including be a vice president, senior engineer at Boeing. She was the first to get an engineering degree at the school she went to in California. But tomorrow, she's going to come on, speak to you and speak with me, and we together are going to talk about the importance of all black Americans getting this COVID-19 vaccine, and why you shouldn't fear it, and why you need to get it, and why you should fear not getting it, because COVID-19 is still out here. As a matter of fact, she's got her vaccine, and as soon as I can get my COVID-19 vaccine, I am going to get it. So Joan has been doing some work now, basically trying to get the message out to our community, and using her reach and influence and status and respect that the community and the culture has for Joan, and her reputation and her work. She is using her capital, her cachet, to do all that she can to save the lives of as many black Americans as possible. Because we are dying at 3 times the rate of white Americans from COVID-19. For every one white person in America that dies from COVID, 3 black people in America are dying from COVID-19. So you don't want to miss that tomorrow. Joan Robinson Berry. So spread the news. It's going to be a great conversation. Joan and her husband, Chris, are dear friends of mine, full disclosure. But Joan is just a phenomenal, speaking of a phenomenal woman, to paraphrase Maya Angelou, phenomenal woman and a phenomenal person, Joan Robinson Berry. Tomorrow, 6:30 live, right here on the Geno Jones Daily Variety Show. All right. Shout out to my barber and hairstylist, Mr. Markel Bailey. Check him out on Instagram, Kelby Cutting, KELBECUTTIN, the official wardrobe stylist and consultant for the Geno Jones Show. Mr. Bruce Gage up in Chicago. Check him out on Instagram, Bruce Gage, G-A-G-E, Bruce Gage, G-A-G-E, and Flyball the Store, flyballthestore.com. He's one of the few officially licensed vendors to carry Negro Baseball League gear. So if you're into like some nostalgia from the old Negro leagues, Negro Baseball leagues, Satchel Paige and Hank Aaron before he played in the major leagues, the late Hank Aaron, rest in peace. Willie Mays, the greatest baseball player ever, as far as I'm concerned, started off the Negro leagues. Josh Gibson, so many great baseball players in the old Negro leagues. So now you can get some great looking gear, sweaters, jackets, COVID-19 masks. Ladies, they have dresses, so check out Flyball the Store. But also Bruce Gage on Instagram. He's the official wardrobe consultant, stylist for the show. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. I love you. I really do, Mother. I love you too. Once again, shout out to all the women on International Women's Day. We lift you up today and every day. Let's do that. Thank you. Thank you for being the wind beneath our wings. And Mother, thank you. I can't thank you enough for being the wind beneath my wings. Mom, thank you. I hope you're up there in heaven. Hope you're proud of me. I thank God I had you for a grandmother. Catherine, somebody's watching this. I love you too. I miss you, Catherine. Damaris, Allie, Boogie, my baby sister Angela, my sister directly under me, Nanette, to all the women in my life. I love you guys more than I cannot find the words to really tell you how much you mean to me and how you've inspired me and nurtured me and just loved me. Try to, take up for me, just in so many ways, just, always have my back. And I can never thank you enough for that. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. So tomorrow, brand new edition with my special guest, Joan Robinson Berry, former vice president, recently retired from Boeing, vice president and senior engineer. It's going to be a great conversation. Get your COVID-19 vaccines as soon as you can. All right? Trust me. Don't gamble. Don't play Russian roulette. Don't play craps. Don't play blackjack with your health. All right? The vaccine is one thing, but we have lost almost 550,000 Americans in less than a year, in about a year. So thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, be blessed. We'll see you tomorrow.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.